Hello and welcome. It's Chris from Christopher Holt Training, and welcome to episode 31 of the podcast, where we're going to be talking about fitness training, and I'm also going to be describing how I improve the fitness of my clients, the people that I work with on a day-to-day basis in the gym to improve their fitness. Now, I am going to be talking about weight training in this one, and that's just one aspect of what I do with people. I do also work in a cardiovascular setting, so for some people I'll just work on weight training with them, and for other people I will work with cardiovascular and weight training, depending on the needs, depending on the goals of people. Also, I work with people with bad backs, injuries, sports massage, so I work with a wide variety of people, but I'm just talking about my fitness clients. And as I get towards the end, as I talk a little bit more about the sort of the formula or the method, if you want to call it that I use with people, this is just for my fitness clients. This isn't necessarily for people that I work with a bad back or that are overcoming or rehabilitating after an injury, so on and so forth. So, but I'll explain that a little bit more as I get there. I'm talking about this mainly because there is confusion or uncertainty as to what people should do with regards to improving their fitness, to, what different types of training should I be doing, because obviously we know, certainly in the cardiovascular setting, there's HIIT training that's become very popular. So I want to try and sort of describe and overview and give you some working principles, not necessarily the specific details of each of the different systems that I'm going to talk about, but overriding global universal principles that are embedded within all of them. So you can, go into the gym or look at your own fitness training in that way. So I'm going to be talking about what people call training variation or training systems. So you may have heard of them before. They're things like drop sets, force reps, eccentric training. Later on I'll talk about supersets, trisets, and things like that. So it's different ways of using weight training to improve fitness. So that's what I'm going to talk about. Where's this information coming from? Well, I'm a member of the UKSCA, which is the UK or United Kingdom Strength and Conditioning Association. So I have access to their latest information. I have access, obviously, through their learner portal on the website, and also the journal that comes out quarterly that I'm able to go through and make notes on and research and read and find that latest information. But what I try to do is make it a little bit more applicable and apply it to what I call our training principles. Now, in fitness, there are 6 training principles, and I'll talk about some of them as I work through it. But these, again, are the overriding universal principles that are embedded within all that we should be doing. What we find is that a lot of people in fitness, they're talking about the specifics. My training system is better than your training system. My method is better than your method. My formula is better than your formula. But if you look at it from a principles perspective, is it following the principles? If it's following the principles, more often than not, most of them will be much the same. And that's kind of what I'm going to talk about in this podcast, in this episode. So before I get into the actual detail, just want to quickly mention, as you can see on the screen, I've got my now 2 websites. It's ChristopherHolt.com and ChristopherHoltTraining.com. So please do come along to those. Have a look around. I've got programs on the Christopher Holt Training, and ChristopherHolt.com is more of an information resource, so you can go on there, you can find out more about those, or you can come to Facebook, which is Christopher Holt Training, or Twitter at Christopher Holt, where I'm sharing that information and sharing about the program, so you can find out a little bit more about those. So coming back to what we're talking about, which is fitness or fitness training and weight training, and then I'll talk about how I apply this with the people that I work with. So coming on to what I was talking about now, I want to just sort of set up what I'm talking about. This has come from the UKSCA or UK Strength and Conditioning Journal, where I'm able to get hold of research that's done in the universities. So it's straight out of the universities into the journal, and then obviously it comes to me, and then I'm able to share it with you. So it hasn't gone through many sort of different ways that it can be manipulated and twisted. This is literally from the university into the journal, and then I'm reading it and then sharing it with you. So what I'm going to talk you through first are different training systems that they talked about. Then I'm going to talk about how they concluded how effective they were. So first of all, we have multi-sets. Now, multi-sets is just the normal 3 sets of 10, 3 sets of 12, 3 sets of 8 that you might do in the gym. So everyone will be familiar with them. You just might not know that they're called multi-sets. Then we have 3 of them that I'm taking from the journal, which is drop sets, forced reps, and eccentric training. Now, drop sets is you'll perform 3 sets of 12, and then after the 3rd set, so immediately after the 3rd set, you drop the weight. So you drop the weight that you're doing, you pick up a slightly lighter weight, and then you repeat until failure. Then you drop that weight, pick up a lighter weight, drop till failure, and then you do that a 3rd time. So it's 3 repeats. So you do 3 lots of 12, and then after the 3rd lot of 12, you do the weight to failure, pick up a lighter weight, do the weight to failure, pick up a lighter weight, do the weight to failure. That's what's known as drop sets. Then you have forced reps, which again is 3 sets of say 12 or 3 sets of 8 or 3 sets of 10, whatever you want it to be. And then you do 3 assisted reps to failure. So then we have eccentric training. Now, eccentric training is slightly different because normally if we take a dumbbell press, so we lie on a bench and we're pushing a weight up. So what we would do with eccentric training is we would do this heavier than we would normally do. So this would, if I could lift 20 kilos for 1 rep, I would use 22 kilos, so I knew I couldn't do it. I would then be assisted in that normal working phase. So as I push up, that would be assisted. And then I return the weight slowly, unassisted. And then as I push up again, I'm assisted. And then I would do that for say 3 lots of 6 or 3 lots of 8 or 3 lots of 10 or whatever it needs to be. So eccentric training is essentially, it's a heavier than normal way of training. So what we then have is the conclusion that the journal came to with regarding these sets of or these training variations or training systems. So all of them are there to increase what we call volume or intensity. So with regards to the training as a whole, training volume being shown to be a prerequisite for increasing maximum strength and hypertrophy. However, no difference was found in muscle hypertrophy or strength. When volume and intensity threshold is met, advanced techniques should not be viewed as a superior method to the traditional loading scheme. So what all of that means, essentially, is it's not about the system itself. Where drop sets, forced reps, and eccentric training do have a value of their own, if we're using it for fitness training, what we're talking about now is volume and intensity. So what volume is essentially, it's can we put more into the same amount of time. So if we've got an hour session and, for example, we're looking to do 200 reps. So can I then fit 210 reps in the next session? Therefore, I have increased the volume. Now, using drop sets, force reps, and eccentric training is a way of doing that. Can I build extra intensity into that? So again, what I'm talking about is not the different systems, it's can I put more intensity into that 60-minute session? So using drop sets, forced reps, and eccentric training is a way of doing that. So I can use those to increase the volume and increase the intensity, which is one way of improving our fitness using weight training. So when we talk about different or specific methods and techniques and things like that, what we have to be looking at from a principles perspective is it increasing the volume within that hour session? Because if you're going into the gym and doing 250 reps and then you're given this training method which is only 220 reps or 200 reps, then you're not increasing. So that training system or variation isn't going to work for you. So it's very much understanding, are you increasing your load, or are you increasing your volume, or are you increasing your intensity using that specific system or method? So as a formula, things you need to be thinking about. So this is now what I do with my clients on a day-to-day basis. So first of all, do you know your fitness level? That's the first thing I do with people. I understand their fitness level. Once I can understand their fitness level, what I can then start to do is I can then start to use these different systems and methods to increase the volume and increase the intensity. So first of all, I know their fitness level. That's the first thing I have to get to know. The other thing that's going to affect it is, do you have any injuries, aches and pains? Because if you have injuries, aches and pains, that's going to influence your volume and your intensity. Because if you've got injuries, aches and pains, you don't really want to be increasing your volume and intensity greatly, because it's only going to encourage and put you at greater risk of further injury, aches and pains. So when we're talking about fitness training, what we have to start doing is, certainly my clients, they have to start saying, I don't have that back pain that I had 6 months ago, or I don't feel that problem in my back, or I don't feel that problem in my knee, or I don't have the aches and the pains. So that's the type of feedback that I'm working with. So if I get someone that comes to me, they want to improve their fitness, but they have injuries, aches and pains, I will do weight training with them. But what I'm also doing is I'm doing therapeutic exercise with them, and I'm not increasing their volume and intensity as quickly, first of all. Because what I want to do is I want a greater sort of influence, or to enhance that therapeutic side of it. As they start then giving me the feedback saying, no, I don't have that anymore, no, my knee pain's gone, no, my back pain's gone, or I don't get it as frequently, then I can start thinking about increasing the volume and intensity of fitness training, if you want to call it that. So that's sort of one type of client. Some people do come to me with a clean bill of health. Have you had any past injuries? No, not really. Do you get any aches and pains? No, not at all. Knee pain, back pain, ankle pain? No, that's all fine. I'll then screen them. Their movement's good, their flexibility's good, their joint range of movement's good. So I'll be looking at that and ticking all those boxes. If they tick those boxes, I will then plug them straight into fitness training, and we won't go through that sort of therapeutic rehabilitation type of exercise. But what I will start with, if they haven't been doing a great deal of exercise in the past, is I will just start on multi-sets. So just normal 3 lots of 8, 3 lots of 10, 3 lots of 12, whatever it might be. I'll give them plenty of rest and recovery, so it allows them to sort of rejuvenate after a set and then build back in. What I'll then do is I'll then start reducing the amount of rest and recovery, but I'll keep multi-sets. Now that in itself is increasing the volume and intensity, because I might be able to add in an extra couple of exercises because I'm reducing the recovery by 10-15 seconds between each set and between each exercise. So just as a default, because I'm reducing their recovery, I'm able to add more volume and more intensity on top. What I can then do is, once I've gone through that, then I can start adding in the training systems. So like a superset, which is 2 exercises back to back with no rest, or a triset, which is 3 exercises back to back with no rest. So again, I'm taking out recovery and adding more exercises together, adding more volume in on top, and adding more intensity in on top. Then I'll start using the drop sets, then I'll start using the forced reps. So what we have to be thinking about as a way of sort of concluding and wrapping up this episode is very much thinking about ourselves on a scale. So where is our fitness level? Do we have aches and pains first? Because that's going to dictate what we do. If we have aches and pains, we need to address those first. Once we can start ticking the boxes off and saying, yes, I have a clean bill of health, then I can start focusing more on the fitness training and really taking that to another level. Once we get onto that fitness training treadmill, if you will, excuse the pun, then we can start thinking about just using multi-sets and reducing the amount of recovery that we have. Then we would start using supersets, trisets, drop sets, forced reps, eccentric training, and all the different systems that are out there. Because what we have a lot in the fitness industry is people with injuries, aches and pains doing high intensity exercise, and that's just a recipe for disaster. So what we have to do is, first of all, know where we are, and then build a sensible, logical plan that involves first of all removing any injuries and rehabilitating those, but then focusing on the principles and not the specific method of increasing volume and increasing intensity over a prolonged period of time, rather than just changing the session completely and we can't then map that. So hopefully this has been of use. Hopefully I've shared something about what I do with my clients that is actually usable for you, because you might be able to recognize where you are and recognize some things that you can do to improve your fitness training. Obviously, if you want to get in touch with me, that's absolutely fine. Get in touch and maybe I'll be able to help you with your programming. And so yeah, many thanks for listening. Hopefully it's been of use. My name is Chris. I will speak to you in the next episode.